A few weeks of hard work has left the floor covered in metal filings, and I've got some new and exciting problems on the little lightweight behind me. Woo! But I think before we get into that, we should just see if the thing still fits underneath the body of the car, which I've left over there, sitting on the floor. Woo! Oh yeah, the issues of the varied weld quality on the back of the chassis. That's not forgotten. Some of the welds are great, others not so much. There are some plain sloppy ones, and some across the back of the panel show undercutting on close inspection. And a couple of welding good practice things have been driven home on this job. One is that comfort and access space to get a good angle on the torch are crucial, and less obvious is that good light on your welding piece is a massive thing. Not being able to see the workpiece so well is a problem. Sounds stupidly common sense. Anyway, before you spark up the pilot light on the flamethrower, here's a random run of original factory welds running down the backbone. I'm not going after my welds right now. We need to check the chassis before doing any more work on it. And I had this sinking feeling that it might have sunk slightly despite having taken many reference measurements all the way through the process and using the original cradle as a benchmark for the shape of the chassis as well. The pat on the back says it all. Throughout the car, all of the body mounting hose line up with the corresponding hose in the chassis. Well, in the same way they did before anyway. There was a small stack of penny washers in the front end on one side, something I have to investigate the reason for later in the build, but for now, the rear end is where it should be, in relation to the rest of the chassis and the body. I am very happy in my nappy. So the thing about the front of the chassis, there's a problem. And it's such a nasty little problem that when I first saw it, way back when I was giving the chassis its holding coat of epoxy, I quickly looked away and thought, that never happened. And cutting out the greater part of the rear of the chassis seemed preferable to even thinking about what I'd seen. But I can't avoid it any longer. I've been mentally preparing to deal with it for ages, so with the chassis set up in a new prep zone, deep breath, and let's see what's to be done. It isn't the run in the paint. I wish. That's from where I dumped a massive blob of epoxy over the problem and tried to pretend it didn't exist. It's our arch nemesis, the villain, and the wampant wascal, Wust. Yeah, it's in the most inaccessible area of the whole chassis too. Of course it is. Shit. Okay, I'll break it down. The wall of the front chassis T section rises up towards the upper spring seat. The chassis is upside down, remember, and a fold redirects it under the top wishbone mounting tube and in under the spring seat, where it's stitch welded to a 4mm thick box that carries the spring seat. The sides of the T section run up perpendicular to the main T body. The wishbone tube intersects them as they continue upward to meet the main fold and are left free of welds save for the overlapping end of the stitch welds on each side. It'll be clearer once I've dismantled it, I promise. And this is obviously a terrible rust trap. Both side sections have delaminated badly and pushed outwards, as has the main folded section, which has literally erupted in an angry looking ball of hardened rust. There's no way in here without at least a partial deconstruction. Do I need to labour the point? Dismantling the suspension carrying portion of a chassis is playing with fire, and this particular chassis is all about its suspension. It's a Lotus. Anyway, whatever happens, the spring seat and wishbone mounting tube have to come out, and if I'm going to have any hope of getting them back in their rightful positions, the first thing I'll need to build is a jig. Initially, I thought a simple fence to locate the wishbone tube against, on refitting, would be enough, until I had a proper look at the tube and realised it crosses the chassis at an angle. It's not on a flat plane, so it's going to need to be located both on the X and Y axis. So best thing here is a second dedicated jig for the wishbone tube. Butchering the welded sections with a hole saw is not something I wanted to do, and in trying to preserve as much of the surrounding metal as I could, I've dug deep into the wishbone tube. It could probably be welded to fill the damage, but if I can find matching seamless tube, I'll replace it. That's a side issue for now though. What I'm trying to avoid is having to remove the whole 4mm thick box that carries everything. But the problem is finding a way to release the welds directly holding the rusted section without making an absolute hack job of the surrounding chassis. It's going to take some initiative, and even then I may have to bite the bullet and just go with the full dismantle. Either way, it's not something I'm going to rush. Time is needed for a regroup, so that's where I leave it until next time. If you're wondering why there's a tent screwed to the floor beside the Lotus, then you have some very entertaining catching up to do. And if on the way you'd like to help fund these videos, you can find a link to my website in the video description where there are a couple of support options, merchandise and contact details. My patrons provide the lion's share of the support that keeps me going, so I'd like to thank Andres Lopez, Adrian Decor, Johnny Helgeson, Jonas Enevolson, Marcus Teague, Mats Bednarczyk, Eric Bryan, Rich Hem, Christopher Bayless, Christian Vasilios, Maciej Vukovic, Andy Peebles, Robert Kirshner, Alex Bourgeois, Christopher Klaus, Andrew Keith, Andreas Erlandson, Grant Yanka, Alessandro Mayer, Joe Singleton, Timothy Jones, Paul Sheehan, and Alaskan Rock Vodka, and all my patrons. Thank you for the support and the encouragement. I will get to the end of this chassis. Until I see you next time, stay stuck in, and good luck.